so much, Dr. Anino and Monsieur l'Ambassadeur, Your Excellency, Dr. Anino, Emuwa, Mr. Chairman of the Franco-Nigerian Chamber of Commerce and Industry, distinguished members of the Chamber, distinguished members of women entrepreneurs community here. From what I hear, it's really impressive to have this audience tonight. I'm very fortunate to be here. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm truly delighted to be here tonight to address such an august assembly of wonderful and engaging women and men, by the way, of the business community of Lagos. I must say, when Moses said, well, we are a few men here tonight, but we shouldn't be here. Yes, you should be here. Because definitely it won't change without men.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank
so
you.
That's
Yes.
it should change with men. Right, so when I met Dr. Anino Emuwa many times since my arrival. I just took office in Lagos at the beginning of September, and I've always been impressed by her dynamic drive and enthusiastic spirit, but also by her energy and capacity to move things higher, and in particular as regards women entrepreneurs. She's not only a compulsive traveler, the UN in New York to Paris and Lagos, for instance, but she's really somebody who gets things done. And I know the guests who are present here tonight are not here by coincidence. You are here because you are all inspired by this same spirit. So thank you so much for coming. On our first encounter, Dr. Anino was very joyful about my being appointed in Lagos as the first woman Consul General of France. And she invited me to share my views with you tonight, and I'm very happy to be here. So yes, I was appointed as the first Consul General of France in Lagos. First woman appointed at that post in 20 years, actually, because our embassy was transferred from Lagos to Abuja, and so it became a consulate in Lagos. But it is not my first time as a first. I was already first Consul General of France in Moncton in Canada before coming, and that was the first woman appointed at that posting in 50 years. And in the same way, I was also first woman to be appointed in my previous assignment as first secretary at our embassy in Kinshasa as a political advisor, but also as deputy consul general in Guangzhou, China. So you see, so yes, I was the first, and so why didn't women ask for these jobs before? Maybe what happened? Were they discouraged because of what was sometimes considered as hardship postings? There may be many reasons, but in any case, I was the first, and so what? Well, it simply shows that things are changing within the French diplomacy, and it's about time, really. Equality between women and men is now promoted, and though we are still far from equality, the trend is worth mentioning. 24% of consul generals of France were women in 2018, against 9% in 2013. So it's improvement.
Yes.
And 26% of ambassadors, French ambassadors abroad, are women today, from 8% 5 years before. So the trend is interesting, but now The public service must be exemplary as far as gender equality goes, because simply we should be representative of the society that we serve. So in France, there was a law called Sauvadet Law, which was voted in 2012, based on the observation that the higher the hierarchy, the fewer women were. The law introduced an obligation for the civil service to appoint a percentage of women to executive jobs. More precisely, it sets an obligation to appoint at least 20% of people of the same sex to senior positions for the first time in 2013, and this number rose progressively, this obligation, to 30% in 2015 and at least 40% in 2017. So this participated in making things change. So if a ministry does not comply, then it has to pay a penalty. And it happened. Right, and overall in 2017 the target was not totally met for the first appointments to main senior management positions, because it was only 36%. But we are nearly there, and I think the trend is good. But beyond statistics, because I don't want to bore you too much with figures, what does it tell us? It shows that there must be a strong political drive to continue to move things forward. Gender equality is part of a broader strategy from the French government. It was enshrined as a great national cause by the President of the Republic a few months after he took office in 2017. Gender equality was clearly on the agenda of the G7 summit presided by France last August, through the work done by the Gender Equality Advisory Council, whom you mentioned, which identified good practices in gender equality laws in 4 sectors: violence, economic empowerment, education and health, and discriminations. Women's rights and advocacy for equality is a priority for France's external action as well. We are committed to a feminist foreign diplomacy, placing women's rights on the agenda in our bilateral and multilateral relations. And this approach is also reflected in our public development aid, because we know that reducing inequalities between women and men is essential for economic growth and social stability. Just to give you an example, last week our ambassador was attending the opening of a training by French consultants which aimed at strengthening the capacity of the Nigerian civil society to develop local initiatives in favor of women. So, as you can see, it is a priority for France, but it remains a global challenge for the international community. 2020 will mark the 25th anniversary of the UN World Conference for Women, which was held in Beijing. The documents which were adopted remain to this day the most ambitious documents adopted for women's rights. Though no country has fully achieved equality between women and men. Despite some progress, we are even witnessing a decline in achievements in some countries today. This is why France will be hosting in Paris a forum from 7th to 10th of July 2020 to try and give a new impetus to women's rights by bringing together stakeholders, states, private sectors, and civil society, to build a coalition of action with ambitious and achievable objectives by 2030 to achieve the targets of the SDGs, the Sustainable Development Goals. This is the global frame, but what about the corporate world and politics? In France in 2011, we passed a law, Coupé-Zimmermann law, to impose a 40% quota of women in boards of directors for large and medium-sized companies. We wish to reverse the trend, but we are still far from it. And I was happy to hear a bit earlier on that was talking to a woman here, member of the board of directors, and she was telling me, I was asking her, are you the only woman around the table? And she said me, no, we're 50% of women and 50% men, so that's great. And I'm very happy to hear this because it shows that in Nigeria things are changing as well, and there is the trend is good as well. So what about French women in politics now? Well, in 20 years, the proportion of women at the Assemblée Nationale has grown from 11 to 39%. And this number has risen to 6 to 29% at the Senate. So yes, it's still too few, but again, if you look at the trend, it's improving. So things are changing, but at too slowly a pace. It is important that the advocacy continues in every area. And it is not that simple, because there are still a number of challenges. Fighting against prejudice, for instance. Sometimes women are not taken seriously, but things are changing, and it's good. It's good that mentalities change, but it takes time. Let me give an example. For instance, in the French Navy, in 2005, a woman became admiral for the first time. It had never happened before. Another example, for the first time last year, 3 women, Navy officers, could be assigned aboard French nuclear submarines for a campaign which lasted 10 months. So you see, these kind of things had never happened before. So I trust new generations may have a different approach, and that it will be capitalizing on what has been done already. In another way, the emergence of new technologies may also help. The campaign Me Too, for instance, managed to raise awareness, and social media play a role. Again, look at what happened at the University of Lagos. There was awareness again on this issue. So before I finish, let me add that we must keep the momentum and the awareness on women's rights to halt any risk of regressive trends. It is with inspiring women like you that societies can change. And we must, as state authorities, make sure that the conditions are there to help women in every way we can. So here are the thoughts I wanted to share with you tonight. Many thanks for your attention, and I'm looking forward to talk to you later.